I'm sure that if you've been a student for long enough, you know that just mentioning the word textbook is enough to make some students cringe. The hassle that comes with getting textbooks can sometimes be ridiculous because once you're told what textbook you need for a certain class, you have to go out and find that book, whether it's getting it online or in a store. You have to make sure, for your own sake, that it's the cheapest book you can find. You have to make sure that it gets to you on time, and if you're buying it used, that you have to make sure that it's in good condition all before your class starts. But the worst part definitely about textbooks is having to pay for them. As students, we all know the financial burden that comes with trying to further your education. Getting a degree really is not cheap, and it might seem like college is just one big bill after another. I feel like I can talk about this subject because I've been a student for long enough that I've done a lot of research to try and save myself money on books, and I really like to know my option when it comes to saving myself money. My purpose today is to persuade school administration into looking into getting cheaper books for students or cheaper book programs. I would like to convince schools that prices for textbooks are entirely too high, and that definitely does affect students. Changing the prices or access to these books would increase the amount of people going to college, it would improve the grades of the people that are already going, and it would help lower student debt. The main reason that I feel these changes should be made is because it would definitely increase the amount of people that go to school. When people get overwhelmed, they tend to make rash decisions. Mark Kantrowitz of FastWeb.com did a study, and it showed that 31% of students that dropped out of college did so because they couldn't really afford it, and books definitely have a lot to do with that. Not only would it increase the amount of students that went to school, but it would also improve the grades of the students that are already going. Students that do stick with college sometimes are limited on money. With all the fees that come with going to school already, it can be a little bit overwhelming, and sometimes that means students try to make cuts financially wherever they can. Some students have opted out of actually getting the books for the classes that they are taking, and they take the chance that they won't need it or they'll be able to borrow it from somebody in their class. Ali Bidwell of USN News wrote that due to high textbook prices, 65% of students decided against purchasing the textbook for certain classes. The students made these decisions knowing that their grades would most likely suffer. The biggest benefit, however, would definitely come when talking about students' bank accounts. Tyler Kincaid wrote in the Huffington Post that textbook prices are rising significantly faster than medical costs, housing costs, and even tuition itself. According to David Kistenbaum of WVEP.org, even though the prices of books are actually going up, some students have found ways around paying for those books, and that's getting them online, getting them from somebody they know, or renting them in bookstores. But not all students can find those books. Publishers definitely do have their way around being able to save you money. They do things like creating new editions, making certain editions for a specific school or class, and also bundling it with software that can only be used by one student. According to Caitlin Moeller of Time.com, the University of Maryland announced that they will be the first school in the U.S. to stop using mandatory printed textbooks, and they will be utilizing online materials. Administrators have done the research and figured out that it would save students about $128 per course, and that might not seem like a lot when it comes to talking about tuition, but taking 3 to 4 courses a semester, it definitely does add up. In conclusion, I wanted to persuade schools and administrators to look into more affordable ways for students to access textbooks. I have explained that textbook prices being so high has a major effect on students, and that changing book access, the access to these textbooks would increase the number of students, improve grades of the students that are already going to college, and it would definitely lower student debt. I feel like I can talk about this subject because I've done a lot of research trying to save myself money over the semesters. As students, we all know the financial responsibility that comes with furthering your education, and sometimes it can be a little bit of a burden to have to get textbooks. Not all students have been putting forward everything they can because they either drop out or opt out of buying the textbooks. And even though not every student does this, it does definitely deter a lot of students, and they have to settle for bad grades.